Tony D and Little Joe with a screenwriter's rant on Imaginary, a movie about an imaginary friend who turns evil. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books, links in the description. Comedy Horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys. Books 1 through 13 available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. All right up front, I kind of don't really enjoy movies where they take childhood memories and twist them and turn them into something evil. They're kind of, I don't know, it's kind of been done a lot of times, and not really digging it. It's just too much of it. You know, Child's Play was about the best one, I guess. Maybe there's a handful of others, but at least with Child's Play, you had this idea that it's partly because it was a corporate entity, partly because it was technology that had brought us there, because the toy was a little odd to begin with. But this one, you know, it's about an imaginary friend that turns evil. So the premise is, and this is from Blumhouse, and look, it's well made. Absolutely well made. Except for one aspect, the casting. Now, if you were going to cast a little girl who has problems and a crazy imaginary friend that's going to start murdering people because the mother moved back into her old house, would you cast this woman as the mother to a little girl who looks, I can find a picture of her, a little girl on the right here? It's, you know, fine. I'm not mad about it. But the problem is, film and video, these are visual mediums. They're visual mediums. So when you want to say something visually and not use dialogue, which is always best in a movie, you want to be able to look at the stills and go, oh, okay, so this is a mother saving her daughter. Now, if she's adopted, fine. But you probably ought to just establish that in the trailer. That's like one of the few things you probably should establish in the trailer. Because by casting somebody who looks so completely different, it might not be the case if you don't mention it, right? It might be that she's married to a guy, he had kids before, and she's her adopted daughter. Might be that she's her biological daughter. But it kind of takes you out of it by not mentioning that. Like, the relationship, if they looked very similar, you wouldn't have to mention it, right? Because you'd be like, oh, she has the same hair, she looks very similar, she looks like a smaller version of the older woman. They gotta be mother and daughter. By casting somebody who looks nothing like her, they don't look anything like each other, you throw up that piece of information. And you don't want that going into a trailer, because the relationship between the little girl and the older woman, who I assume's the mother, adopted mother, I don't know, they didn't say it, would be crucial to the movie. So when the older woman takes this little girl to a doctor because she's hearing voices coming from the teddy bear, then we know what the deal is. Instead, we don't get that one little piece of information. So I'm left to wonder what their relationship is. And it takes you out of the scene. Takes you out of it. You don't want anything to take people out of it. You want people on board. Why would you make such a fundamental mistake? Either put that piece of information in the trailer, or cast somebody who looks very similar. Cast two people who could be related. Whether the daughter's black and the mother's black, whether they're both white, whether they're both Asian, if they're different races, then that explanation is required in order to get us on board. Literally a half a second. You know, I wanted to bring her to, and she brings her to the house where she grew up in. So and look, the adoption angle totally works in the movie, right? Because it could be the impetus of why she moved back into her old house. Maybe the little girl isn't quite accepting of her yet, because that happens in adoption situations sometimes. There's a distance there. She wants to bridge the gap. So she moves back into her childhood home to show her adopted daughter, well, I'm giving you everything I had. Like, that can totally work. And that's absolutely crucial to this movie, in my view. 100%. You don't have it? Okay. So I'm left to wonder, like, are they related? Well, while the trailer's going on. I mean, and if I'm not totally paying attention to the trailer, again, it's a visual medium. Some stuff goes past you. Right? You're watching a trailer. Oh, what happened there? I missed the beginning of it. Oh, I guess that woman is a friend who's trying to help this little girl? Like, you don't know, because you didn't establish it, or you didn't cast properly. So there's also a teenage girl who's in the mix. I'm not sure who she is. I think this is her boyfriend who gets horribly murdered by the teddy bear. There's a shot of these two here. Now, are they sisters? They could be. They kind of look similar. The little girl is young enough you can make that stretch, but they don't necessarily look like they're related, but they could kind of maybe pass for it. Maybe. But you don't know. So since the mother is a different race, maybe she's the sitter. And maybe it's the sitter that asked the boyfriend over. And you might say, well, you're really drilling down into this trailer. It's because it took me out of the moment. The moment should be about this horrible entity that possesses her teddy bear and why it happened. And they explain that much of it in the movie. Explained it, really. Because, you're trying to sell me on that when you haven't even sold me on the relationship. That's not good. Not good. And visually, it's like, okay. It's like you're rushing to get to the point where the teddy bear turns into a monster and murders people horribly. I get it. It's a horror movie. I realize things like that are going to happen already, and you want to show off some of that, but you also got to establish the baseline here. So, I don't know why they did this to themselves. You essentially handicapped yourself in doing this movie, in doing this trailer. Plus, you're playing the song Just My Imagination in a sinister way, which I don't know if it really works. But by the end of this trailer, and it's only 2.5 minutes long, I'm sick of hearing that. It's like you keep saying, oh, just my imagination. It's like, and they're putting that echo on it, like, what's happening? By the 15th time that happens in the trailer, I'm like, okay, I get it. You're being clever with the song. It's an imaginary friend. Although not really, it's a teddy bear. The teddy bear part isn't imaginary. His spirit is imaginary. And then there's another shot of where the little girl says she's very mad at you and he's standing behind you. And then he's not even the teddy bear. He's like a ghoul of some kind that's standing in the shadows. So I think you focused on the wrong thing on this trailer. Now, that all being said, it's well produced. It's got that song in it. They spent some money. I'd expect this movie to be quality, and I'd expect them to explain the situation in the beginning of the movie. But since you didn't put it in the trailer, I think it's not going to turn people off. they're just not going to be tuned into it. They're going to be distracted by, wait a minute, what's their deal? And the thing's only 2.5 minutes long. So if you're going to distract people in the trailer, what's that say about the movie? Is the movie going to be a distraction too? Are there going to be scenes in it that kind of sort of don't matter? It doesn't bode well. But that being said, it's another Blumhouse horror movie. Would I see it? Again, I don't like these movies where they take childhood items and make them creepy. Who does that appeal to exactly? You can essentially make anything creepy, right? You could take a bottle of vitamins and that bottle of vitamins has been there for 20 years and everyone who has taken one has gone insane. It's like, when it's an object, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's a great mode for horror, especially when it's a kid's toy. I get it. The kids are more vulnerable, and that's evil, and that's kind of scary. Yeah, but it's kind of been overdone. And, so I guess my answer is no, because it's just the same sort of deal over and over again, and eventually, I don't know, they come up with a way to burn the teddy bear and destroy the entity. First act, they move back into this house where this woman lived when she was a kid, who I guess is the mom, and they discover the teddy bear in the basement that she left behind. Which is odd, because it's like, well, who lived in the house when you left? And look, people do that all the time, right? Inanimate objects are left behind in houses. I've left inanimate objects, in my parents' house that I may or may not get back to. Like, are they possessed by the devil? It's not exactly a strong concept, but whatever. So the entity, her imaginary friend, was left behind and then grew to resent her. And we slowly learn that over a period of time. So Chauncey, the name of the teddy bear, takes her on a scavenger hunt, which is first very innocent and nice, but eventually he tells her to hurt herself. And that's when she takes her to the doctor, who analyzes her. Eventually, she, in desperation, I think she goes to a psychic of some sort later in the movie, sometime during the second act. But Chauncey eventually kidnaps her into another realm. I guess. And at some point he burns down the house after murdering the babysitter or other daughter's boyfriend. I don't know. There's a lot going on in this movie. And a lot of jump cuts. End of the movie, Chauncey is destroyed. The little girl is saved. The mother is saved. A few people have died along the way. And then, will Chauncey return? Question mark, question mark. Will we never be rid of this teddy bear, as we were never rid of Chucky, as we were never rid of the ventriloquist dummy from that Twilight Zone episode? Will we never be rid of this plot? Anyhow, that's it for me, Tony D, and Little Joan. Check us out on Odysee, Bitchute, and Rumble for our more bass takes. If you can find a more bass take, I say take it. I will be, where am I going? The Jersey Shore Vintage Show in Whiting, New Jersey on the 18th. That's Saturday from 10 to 4. And then at Lucille's Country Cooking from 10 a.m. to 2 in Warren, New Jersey on Sunday. Hope to see you there. We'll see you in the next one.